for the ramps. All these public places don't have ramps. So
Right.
all those things she's helping me out with now.
I think we
That
are live, Jerry.
So we are live. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. So
Yeah.
namaste, Abha ma'am. How are you?
my pleasure. Namaste. Lovely to
Yeah.
connect.
So welcome to the InspireX conversations that we have every Monday. The format is very simple. For the first 45 minutes, you have a conversation with Itu Chopra, who's our co-founder and the host for the conversation. And then I join you in the last 15 minutes to ask some pointed questions and provoke some thought so that our participants and audience can gain from the insights that we generate from the thought provocation. So I will hand you over to Itu ma'am now and then join you in the last 15 minutes. So all the best.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Jerry.
And welcome to the InspireX conversation.
yeah. I really like the name InspireX.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
thank you. Thank you
Whoever
so
put
much.
the
Yeah.
name is wonderful.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Namaste, Avaji, once again, and welcome to the InspireX
Namaste.
Monday evening conversations. And I'm going to just dive deep, straight away into conversation. And we have about an hour to have conversation with you. And I have so many things to know from you and, have this conversation. So I'm going to begin with, what is this journey about civil servant to, a lawyer and an advocate and a social activist? What has it been, and how do you adorn this, this job of like it's a freer, bigger, more difficult thing to do, to be a social
See, this is the perception for you and me. This is a bigger, a bigger canvas to work on. But when I decided to leave the civil services, I would just introduce a little about me. I was a student in JNU. I did my MPhil on United Nations and the Rights of Child. While working, while doing my MPhil, I got married because coming from a traditional family, how it is UP and all. I think that was that those were the times where for a girl, career was backseat. It was marriage was first. So of course, after getting married, I took the civil services, and at that time, civil services. Even today, it surprises me that civil services is the be all and end all for a lot of people. The
It
amount
is.
of coaching classes you have in Rajinder Nagar, and every third person you meet is taking the civil services. In fact, last year, 11 lakh 11 lakh students had filled the UPSC prelims form. So you can just see from 11 lakhs, and I would know it very well because this year my daughter had also taken, and from 11 lakhs, there were 12,000 for the written exam, and from 12,000, you had 2,350 who cleared to the interview. So just see the wide gamut of this exam. I mean, it's almost a year. So when I decided to put in my papers, I still had around 15 years of job left. I cleared the civil services in 94 and I joined the Indian Postal Service. Before that, I worked in the customs. So people couldn't believe that I am ready to leave such a status, because in India,
Yeah.
you're running after power, status, position. You are doing the biggest blunder of your life. How can you leave the civil services? And lawyer, at least I would say in the north, even lawyer now with CLAT and law schools coming. Otherwise, in our generation, जिसको कोई भी admission नहीं मिलता था, जो कुछ नहीं करता था, वो वकील बन जाता था. It was like that. कि lawyer है तो वो time pass कर रहा होगा. So people thought leaving the civil services to become a lawyer. But then I would just smile. I said, no, I had thought about it because while we were working in the government, my husband was also in the IPS and he was in the CBI. He had done some very big cases. So since you take on the system, you take on the politicians, the system attacks you. And that was the time I did law. While working in the government as a mother of two children, in Bombay University, I registered for my LLB degree because I realized that if you want to fight for your rights, if you want to stand up against injustice, a degree of law is a must because your own cases you can argue in the court. So one of the reasons I switched over was this, that even my husband would say this one thing. He would say, you've been deprived of your freedom of speech and expression for the last 20 years. When you join the government, you zip your mouth. You can't speak. You will be suspended. You must be there with these income tax officers who just put up some proposal that this is the way in lockdown you can. They just gave a proposal. There was nothing. They just put it on the tweet. and they all were transferred, and they were all commissioner rank officers. So
Yes.
that was there in my mind, that freedom of speech and expression is something which you cannot be denied, and government service binds you. And I had this strong thing for justice, for raising my voice against injustice. So my life is, my patri is justice, injustice, justice, injustice. I said no, I have to raise my voice. So that was the reason I left. I put in my papers, I set up my NGO, which we would talk about it gradually. But yes, today I feel, first 2 3 years everybody kept saying, have you done a mistake, why did you leave the civil services? Even now everybody talks of that, but I said no. For me it was that even that service was to do a job. I mean, it was not for my personal showbiz, that I have I'm government of India and I can do this. But it was for me, if I could be the voice for the silenced women. I always say, people who are suffering, for the people who are suffering, even if I can help 5 people, I think it's worth it. So that was the reason. With that mission, I came out. But yes, God has been kind. I've been able to do some brilliant cases, which I would talk about it as we go further.
Yeah.
But it's been a beautiful journey. From being a meek government servant, because there you cannot express your opinion. You have to. In fact, I remember I was on Times Now, and I was on Arnab's channel once, and he says, "Why did you leave the government?" I said, because in the government you cannot be more intelligent than your boss, and I was more intelligent than my boss. But that is the fact. Even if
It's a
you're doing
fact.
something, you cannot put it out, and too much of efficiency and smartness is never appreciated. So I would say, and I would like people to think about it, that if you want to do something, it is just not the society or the civil services. You can do anything, anywhere, provided you have the passion to do something good. So people think only if you're in the government you can deliver. No, you
So
may
Abha,
be. Yeah.
you've talked about a very pertinent point, and it's also a burning point, but it's hushed up. And you're talking about that, as a civil servant or as anybody who's in the government cannot raise their voice against the wrong, cannot talk about their opinion, cannot speak about what they think is the right thing, or cannot talk about the right. They have to toe the line of the people in the power or in the government. So it's very stifling, and isn't it very sorry state of affairs in our country or world over, probably, that people have to toe a line of a government because governments change, mindsets change, and you still have to go on changing with them. They may not be right, and it's stifling. So what's your take on that? Of course, you feel very strongly, and you left, but
Very true. Like you said, you have to toe the line.
yeah,
When you join the service, there's something called CCS conduct rules, which clearly says you cannot speak about your job, you cannot criticize the government, you cannot speak against a policy of the government. Then what are we supposed to do? I mean, if your minister just says do it and you feel it is wrong and yet you do it, I mean, you are not loyal to your country, you are not loyal to your nation. So I feel that is a bigger thing, and that is the reason a lot of IAS, IPS officers, if you would see, they are quitting the government, or a lot of them don't want to join the government because they feel that even if you want to do something out of the box, you would not be allowed. And this is now a politician's domain totally. I mean, police officers, if you see IPS officers, the moment they try to do something or try to put certain things in order, they are transferred out. The biggest weapon the politicians have is they transfer you out. In fact, Supreme Court in the Prakash Singh case clearly said there should be a board to transfer police officers. But the way it is, I mean, and that's why you see the encounters in Kanpur, I mean, the
yeah,
custodial deaths. In fact, I just started in the lockdown, I started something called the People's Lawyer. So that was primarily with the reason to bring out these issues where you are not upholding the law of the land, like in Jairaj and Benik's case, the Tamil Nadu custodial killing. I mean, these people were shopkeepers who had just kept the shop open till 8:30. If the
yeah,
curfew time was 8 o'clock, you
yeah,
bring them to the police station, beat them to death, and people keep quiet. So, and there are IPS officers there. Nobody got to know, or they did not raise this issue. This was not the first time there was a custodial death happening. So, definitely, till the time we do not free our bureaucrats from the clutches of the politicians, it's going to be a bad scene. If you see Varavara Rao and all, Varavara Rao is 81 years old. I mean, in the Bhima Koregaon, these activists, we are just keeping quiet. We are accepting all these as fait accompli, So definitely the bureaucracy has failed us because they have surrendered to the politicians. So we definitely require people with a spine who can stand up to these politicians, who can say no, and you require a very independent judiciary which protects them. See, there was always a division of powers. You had an independent executive, an independent judiciary. But because the manner in which the bureaucrats have been compromised, I mean, it's obvious if you see the transfers. The moment anybody raises his voice, you will have the ED and income tax raiding his house. You start an inquiry, you do a vigilance. So
Yeah.
when you destroy the spine of the country, so I'm happy that I am out of the system and I can do much more because I see my friends who are there, they are frustrated. You can, I mean, I don't have to take names, but you just see so many IS officers who are quitting. I mean, the moment they criticize the government, they have vigilance inquiries, they have raids on their house, So, I mean,
So
you
yeah,
need to
Abha,
have an
that's
institution. The institutions should not be compromised. That is
true.
my biggest question.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm just taking cue from what you're talking, and at the same time, there's a lot of hypocrisy as well, because there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of bribery, there's a lot of everything in the government, in the IS, in the IPS, in all the civil services, and also judiciary isn't bereft of all of this. So it's a really really bad place. So is it only the answer is to come out? Then if everybody comes out, then who is going to take care of
I would say everything is
politics?
a reflection of the society. I mean, how can you forget the corporate corruption?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
ultimately, it is the big corporates who are getting all these policies changed to their convenience. The manner in which mangroves and all that were protected areas as forests, now you have buildings coming up in mangroves, you're destroying the forest, you are killing, So I feel corruption is a problem of the whole society, of the setup. Until the time the courts take a no nonsense approach, till the time
mm,
now I see cases go for years and years, and
yeah,
justice is a very expensive proposition. Lawyers' fees are so huge.
hi,
People don't want to litigate because they feel, how do we pay the lawyer fees? How do we go on for cases for so long? So these things, till the time we don't overhaul the system, we don't get in judicial reforms, we don't get in police reforms, and also making things transparent, accountable. Now, like people say, income tax, there should be minimum interaction with your officers. It should be all transparent on the system. So I think there's a long way to go, but yes, corruption is something which I always say, corruption kills. The biggest killer is corruption. And if you see in criminal cases, I mean, when women go to the police station, say it's a rape case, if you've taken money from the other side, that is why cases go scot free. Right
yeah,
now, conviction rate in rape cases is barely 31%. So if you see, I mean, in murder, it's just 50%. That means
mm,
50% of murderers go scot-free, 70% of rapists go scot-free. What do you
yes,
talk of the system?
yeah,
So, and everything is hand in glove. So definitely
absolutely,
we lack integrity, we lack character. That is my feeling. A person is immediately, if you've broken a signal, you would like to bribe the traffic constable rather than pay the fine or, bear the onus. So, we lack integrity, and that is what my earnest request is. I think when we talk of Inspire X, and I would like to inspire people that, listen, don't take the shortcut. If you've done something wrong, be honest about it, stand up to it, but don't bribe the government servants and don't show them the way that you are paying. If you don't pay, they'll cut a challan. Pay to the government, but don't pay to the traffic constable on the road, don't pay to the police inspector or anything. So I feel number one thing is corruption, we really need to. Second is transparency, which is required. And the biggest thing I feel is we need to speak out. We have selective outrage. On
mm,
some issues, everybody will come out. But on very important issues, I am aghast that people just look the other way.
right,
So you don't come out, and if you don't support people, tomorrow you can be in the same situation.
yeah.
So I feel the selective outrage which is happening is not right.
So people, the power is not being used properly, and it's just getting sidelined to certain areas, and it's being misused. That is it.
Yeah, of course, of course. And also, I feel very important, pertinent issues are not being shown in the press. They are, I mean, if I talk of pharmacicides, if I talk of land reforms, we seldom have these issues being discussed on television now. It's
Yes.
only any issue is Congress, BJP, Congress. We only want to see the political side. But I feel like the economy, the issues of the economy, status of women, women empowerment. I mean, only at the time of elections we talk of rights of women. But even today, we've not given 30%, 33% reservation to women in the parliament. We are way down, and the bill was introduced in the 80s. I mean, it's been 5 times the bill has been introduced for women reservation, but it has lapsed because the politicians also know that women as a vote bank don't come together. And secondly, they somehow have not been able to get their voice across. So these are the issues like gender justice, reservation for women. In fact, equal pay for equal work is something which now I'm very passionate about, because government, at least you get the same salary if you are a IAS or any job you are. Even if you're a clerk, a male clerk would get the same salary as a female clerk. But if you see in the unorganized sector, the wages are absolutely different. A woman laborer may be working much more than the man. She would be leaving the children and coming to work, but her salaries are way less, at least 30% less than the male counterpart. Women CEOs you see in the corporate world, they are getting a totally different salary. Come to the Bollywood, female actors, they may be equally good, but their remuneration would be one third. I mean, it would be at least one third less than the male actors. So I mean, when the Constitution talks of Article 14 talks of equality before law and equal protection of laws, when we talk of we fundamental rights talk of prohibition of discrimination. So what can be more discrimination than this, that you don't get the same salary, or I mean, women CEOs will be 2% and it would be 95%, or I mean, 5% would be the top heads would be women. So equal pay and all these are the issues we need to talk about. We need to bring that this disparity out. But
Yeah.
we somehow look the other way.
Yeah. So from there, I want to talk about the fact that you talk about human rights, you talk about child rights, you talk about women rights, you talk about all of these issues, and these are difficult issues to talk about. And also in our country, I think not only in our country, all over the world, they are hushed around. They are in the closet, they are under the carpet, and the environment is hostile to talk about all this. Tell me, how does it go about with you as a lawyer to talk about it, or
You're
as a
very
social
right.
activist?
This is one case which I am talking about. I have filed a PIL in Bombay High Court about POSH, that is protection of
Yeah, yeah.
sexual harassment at workplace. These laws. I have this lady who was every corporate is supposed to have an internal complaints committee. So she was heading the ICC of a blue chip corporate company, and a case came to her in which she found 5 women deposed, and they gave evidence that how one of the vertical heads was sexually harassing them. So this lady, in her report, she was the ICC chairperson, and she gave a strong report that yes, the charges are proved, and this vertical head was dismissed from service. He had to resign. He had to go. But see, the cozy club, I call, of these men in that company, they made a mental note that, oh, this lady should have kept quiet, or she should have not brought this on paper. Within 3 months, this ICC chairperson got her marching orders. They gave her a notice of 3 months salary, and they terminated. The termination ground was that your interpersonal relations is bad. Can you imagine, you put in 20 years in a company, you've had your promotions, you've had your increments, you've represented your company at all the international organizations and meetings, and because you have stood loyal to the ground on your POSH, you are terminated. So we filed this PIL in the Bombay High Court, but because of the lockdown, it has not been able to come on board, because the court said that only urgent matters will come. And in this, it's not a right to life that this lady is because she's already been terminated, and she didn't want to say that I don't want any benefit for myself, but I want to do it as a PIL because I want this rule to be looked into. So we filed this PIL, and we are asking that if you are making a lady chairperson of an internal complaints committee, you are asking her to discharge duties of a civil judge. She can summon, she can take your deposement, she can so then you protect her.
Right.
It is very difficult for a lady that in her own company she gives a order against one of the seniors. How
Yes.
if a sexual harassment complaint comes against your boss, Will you be able to do it in a neutral way? So my PIL in the Bombay High Court is that you please protect these ICC chairpersons. You may have a law, but if the
Yeah.
people who are supposed to decide are themselves vulnerable, how will the girl who has complained of sexual harassment, how will she get justice? So,
Right.
I realize that laws are there, but the implementation is faulty.
True.
Even if you see the juvenile laws, you have said that if a juvenile in the age group of 16 to 18 commits rape or murder, he would be tried under the adult law.
Right.
And for that, the thing is heinous offense. And
Hmm.
heinous offense is something in which punishment is more than 7 years.
Right.
So rape and murder is more than 7 years. See, but when I was handling this case of Mumbai where this young girl who was pushed by a juvenile at Kurla terminus, she fell on the platform and I mean not platform, she fell on the track and she was crushed to death. And this juvenile was barely 17, and we went to the court and we said, as per the new law, he should be tried under the adult IPC and it should be a serious offense. So at that time they said no, there are technical issues because it says more than 7 years, but the charges which you've put for him, the punishment is up to 10 years. But how can you say that he will get punishment more than 7 years?
Hmm.
So as a result, this juvenile was let off. He was not tried under the heinous offenses. So then I wrote to Menka Gandhi. That time she was the chairperson, she was the minister for WCD ministry.
Yeah.
I never got a reply. I have written a reminder. I said, please amend the law. You've made a faulty law. So my issue is that when these laws are made, why are not the stakeholders taken on board?
Right.
You should have NGOs, you should have human rights activists, you should have child rights activists. You just cannot get a law without seeing what are the shortcomings. So when you make a law with so many loopholes, but natural crime will not be controlled. But natural, the criminals will go scot-free. So, when I am working and I realize that at the making of the laws itself, the parliament needs to apply its mind.
Yeah.
You just cannot make a law without even testing how things are. Or if there are issues, you need to rectify. So,
True.
these are the issues which I feel, even in the POSH law, you have not protected the ICC members and the chairperson.
Yeah. So how sad it is that our representatives in the parliament who are supposed to be our representatives don't even thaw the law, and the implementation of the law is so faulty, as you said, because if a person is committing a crime which is adultish, which is adult crime, should be treated in the same manner, and because of that there's a lot of ill going around, and a lot of people are going scot free, and that also gives a lot of a lot of others are feeling that you can get away.
Yeah,
that's the saddest thing, that you can get away with doing whatever in our country.
that is true, because people feel that court jaake kya hoga, they are conviction nahi hoga. In fact, if you see Asaram case, 3 witnesses have been shot dead. There have been attack on the victim. So people are scared to depose. They are scared to be witness. In fact, I've just filed a PIL in UP about protection of witness, because Supreme Court has come out and said that any witness who comes to the court to depose or to give, you have to give them police protection. If you see the latest Vikas Dubey case, I mean, he 20 years back, he had walked into a police station and killed a sitting MLA, and there were policemen who were witnesses, but they all turned hostile. So when the policemen, the men in uniform, did not have courage to depose against Vikas Dubey, they would change their statements. How do you expect a common man who has no protection, who does not have any security, how can he come and take cudgels against the criminals? So I'm now trying to say that you courts have talked of witness protection, but whether the implementation is happening or not. The bigger thing is, you may have the laws, but are they being implemented? So these are the things which I feel activists, that's why I say lawyer activist, I always write, I say you may be a lawyer, but you need to have that activist feeling in you.
The moral code has to be as high as the legal code.
Exactly. You have to, you just can't think you're working for yourself, because if the system works, everyone's going to benefit. So it is just not me that if I have come that I'm a lawyer, so I get my money, I win a case and I go. No, it's my duty to see that the judicial system works, the criminal jurisprudence works. So
Yes.
these are the things which I feel now I came at a little later stage. We should have been there, from day one, and maybe things would have been equally better. But now with so much of I get a lot of interns who want to work with me. Like I set up this Run Summer was basically the NGO which I've set up is primarily for empowering women in rural areas, giving them
Mm.
vocational skill. In fact, I came out with a book called Sri Dasha or Disha. I realize all the laws are in English, and
Yeah.
law has become only like a urban women or literate women get litigating. They know what the law is, but you have women in tier 2, tier 3 cities, those housewives who are suffering domestic violence, they also need to know. Because the other day I got a call and this lady said, I've got 2 children and my husband wants to push me out of the house. What do I do? I said,
Mm.
number one, he cannot push you out of the house. You are his legitimate, legally married wife. And you move the DV Act, you file a court case, you will get a restraining order. Your
Mm.
husband can, and women don't know that from
Yeah.
the court you can get a restraining order that they cannot be thrown out of the house, and it will be husband's duty to pay you alimony, to pay you interim maintenance. So these are
Mm.
things. So that's why I came out with this three dasha or disha, in which all the laws I tried to get, I translated them in Hindi. In fact, then people said no, do it in Urdu, because a lot of women, Muslim women, are also facing domestic violence. So these are the things I started doing through my NGO. And then I realized when I was interacting with these women, I mean, they thought wife beating, getting beaten by their husbands is normal. That's their
Yeah.
life. That's their destiny. I said,
Mm.
no, you cannot. I mean, pati may be Parmeshwar, but not a pati who beats you. So,
Mm.
what I'm trying to say, a knowledge of law, like I would say, know your rights, forget law. If you know your rights, only then you will stand up.
Mm.
Otherwise, I would say, I feel today after 7 years of entering the government, that I'm a very happy soul. I could do so many things. And
Mm.
like Mahatma Gandhi rightly said, be the change that you want to see. So I
Yeah.
feel, we were talking big things, but now if I can implement them, I can bring the change. And
Mm.
if I can help a woman stand on her feet, raise her voice, come to the court and say yes. In fact, this is a lovely case I would share with you. There was this lady who
Mm.
came to me. She's been married for 50 years. I know, and she would be in her 60s. And she said, my husband has blocked my cards. And even if I go to the club, I can't pay for my basic provisions and all. And he just says, I'll teach you a lesson. Which is so surprising. So I said, what do you want? She says, I want some independent income because, and she's been married for 50 years. So immediately we moved the family court. And this was before lockdown, and I got her a interim maintenance of 1 lakh rupees a month. So for
Mm.
3 months, she got 3 lakhs. So I was joking with her. I said, see, because of lockdown, our income has become zero, but you are the empowered woman who's got a check of 3 lakhs from her husband. So,
Yeah.
but she had the courage to come out.
Out.
She was embarrassed to say that I'm being harassed by my husband. I don't even have a penny to my name. He doesn't let me even for my immediate expenses. But see, at least after 50 years also, she said, why stigma? I'm entitled to respect in my house. So that
Right.
was the courage of that woman who's in her 60s. And
Mm.
she came to the family court and she got it. And she says, yes, now, even in lockdown, I'm getting my maintenance. So that's what I try to tell women, that if you stand up
Talk.
for your rights, you're going to get it. So
Yes.
don't just suffer in silence.
Yeah. So, Abha, you have great oratory skills, and those are the hallmark of a lawyer. And you've spoken at Oxford and Cambridge, and the lawyers are supposed to speak very well. But we also see, and you've been speaking at TEDx and all that, and you've been a TED speaker. So I'm going to ask you something. That these days we look around and we see everyone is a TED speaker and everyone is an author. And how does that happen? So tell me something.
I would say I
But
was always
but
a
in
good
law,
speaker because
but
my
in law,
mom would push me as a child to go and take part in all debates.
yeah.
So I always tell her, I said, Mom, the credit goes to you, because she was very particular and she said, no, she was a master's in history from Allahabad University in the year 61. And she didn't work because those were the generations where women seldom stepped out, but she was very keen that I must work. And that's why I said I got married at a very young age, took the civil services after marriage. And of course, Columbia, when I went to University of Columbia, and we were talking about Me Too. So and at that time you had representatives from the IMF, because Columbia University is of course CEPA. They were all about economics. I said, see, but how does the economy work if you don't empower your women? If a woman is not comfortable in her workspace, how is she going to give in her best? So just not say that economy and a robust economy is everything. I would say a robust system is the best. Because a woman who's empowered, who can speak, who's safe. Because if a woman is educated and then comes to work and there also she's harassed, I mean, it's a cheating, I would say, for a woman who studied, educated, and then also if she's being harassed. So I would say TEDx, see, because now TEDx is a very different thing. You'll have TEDx in small places, schools, colleges. But what I would say I am different from the rest is because if I am talking of something, I walk the talk. I will see to it. If I have to do a PIL, I will implement it, like the sewage workers who died in Mumbai in the societies who were cleaning the septic tanks. I mean, I realized that there were these three widows, and I contacted them, and they did not get compensation. And when Supreme Court guidelines are that every manual scavenger, a person who's died on duty, he should be given a government job and a 10 lakh rupee compensation. In the last 5 years, Maharashtra, not a single family member has got a job or that 10 lakh compensation. So this issue we brought to the Bombay High Court. And then they asked the BMC that you tell us why you've not given. We went and met the collector. So what I'm trying to say is that if I'm talking about rights, I want to see to it that it is implemented, and it's just not the talk. So I don't believe just talk. I believe in walking the talk.
Yeah.
And Oxford was also about 8th March, but I feel it's good because a lot of women now who connect with me, who've heard my talks, and they say, only listening to you, we were inspired, that we stood up on our feet. We told our husbands that, look, in fact, another woman who walked up to me and she said, I came and can I have a picture with you? I said, of course. She says, I put your picture on my DP. And from that day, my husband stopped abusing me and stopped beating me and started giving me maintenance. So I said, that is what is my voice is all about. Not just giving a aimless talk, but actually empowering these women, So I mean, when she says that, the moment I put your picture and and she was so grateful. I said, of course. And that is what my aim is. I want to tell these abusive men that women, if we hold hands, we are going to see that you can't even touch the women, you can't beat them. So violence and abuse is something, a woman suffers in silence, suffers alone. But the moment we all come together, we can enrich each other's lives.
So what I was trying to also say that, lawyers have to have great oratory skills and also to have lots of in-depth knowledge. Otherwise, what it is. Tell me from there.
I would say oratory skills are okay, but the first thing is you have to be very thorough with your profession. In-depth knowledge, which you said, you have to read a lot, because when you have to prove your point or you have to convey what you want, you need to substantiate it with various court judgments, with various law points. So, in fact, I joke. I said civil services is easy. Once you clear the exam for next 33 years, you are in a comfortable place. You will get your time bound promotion, you would get your salary. But as a lawyer, I face an exam in an open court every day, because my client is sitting next to me looking at me that I must win this case for him, and I must see to it that his stand gets vindicated. So when you don't get a favorable judgment, you will not only see your client's face, a fallen face, but you would see there are smirks around, because it's an open court. So I always say, oh my God, I've gone back to school where I have to prove my point every day. So it's not an easy job, because the moment you lose in one court, immediately ask for time to rush from the High Court to the Supreme Court, from the lower court to the High Court. So it's hard work. I would say it's actually hard work.
So Abha, I'd like to say that, it's kind of ingrained in the lawyer that you have to win at any cost.
It is not ingrained, because out of the two, one will lose.
Yeah, but then again, I'm going to talk about the moral code and the legal code. And then where does that go?
I will, like I was saying to you, why you want to, like, for me, it is because I take up cases pertaining to human rights, injustice, and I know that these people who've come out, they have great hopes from me. But yes, when you talk of moral code and legal code, definitely, you cannot use illegal means. Even for the lawyers, there's a Bar Council of India. You have a code of conduct. You have an ethical things. So I cannot say that if somebody's come and said that, like there was this case earlier, the lawyer, his license, people said his license should be cancelled. He was arrested himself in Mumbai because he tried to create false evidence. There was this case of
Hmm.
sexual harassment in which the lawyer tried to misguide her, or whatever. It was a strategy to create wrong evidence, and this lawyer himself was arrested. So of course moral code is very important. You cannot just say that you have to win the cost. You have to win a case through illegal means or generating false evidence. But if you can win a case with your caliber, your conviction, your hard work, by because there's a judge, you have to bring every fact by your evidences which you can prove your point. So for me, it's always the right way. I mean, I can't even think of anything beyond that. And that is my message to the young lawyers, that
Yes.
always be ethical, always be morality. Like there is something called constitutional morality also now when we
Hmm.
talk of. So, never, the shortcut to success is never there. It's hard work, and always, it's not about winning or losing. I mean, at times, even if I've lost, it doesn't matter because I know
It's
I
a
have
learning.
put in my best. That is
Yeah.
what I say. I have to put in my best. I mean,
Yeah.
there it should not be a shortcut that I worked harder, had I got two more judgments to substantiate my point.
Yeah.
But winning and losing is not which is to guide my course of action.
Yeah, so but we at Rex Karamveer really talk about failures, because sometimes you have to fail to understand the real righteousness or to integrity, or to even learn lessons in life. And failure is not bad. Failure is a good thing because it's a teacher, it's a mentor. And from there, I'd like you to tell us a little about your non-profit organization, your Run Summer, about Run Summer, and the work that you do under that.
Failure, I agree with you absolutely. Failure is the stepping stone to success. And that is why I say all children must play sports. Because if you're a sportsman, from day one, you accept failure, because it's always one will be victorious.
Never
So
will.
if you can accept failure,
Hmm.
you are going to be very grounded. You are going to have a balanced personality, because even mental health, I would say all these issues of mental health are because we are not ready to take back adversities. We are not ready to accept failure. And that is why all these issues are also happening. So of course, and coming to my Run Summer, what does Run Summer means? Run Summer means battleground,
Yes.
and it is taken after my father, whose my father's name was Ran Bahadur Singh, and my father-in-law was Samar Bahadur Singh. So Ran Samar, when I put it together, it becomes a battleground. And as I said, for me, life is a battleground for justice, because I have to see to it. Anything what infuriates me is injustice. If I see some injustice happening, I mean, I have to stop there and see to it that things are sorted out. So Run Summer was set up primarily for that. And then I came from a state of Uttar Pradesh, where I found always women at the receiving end. Like if you are qualified but you won't work because it's patriarchy. You have things like honor killing. I mean, you would also see in Haryana and those states where. So I mean, the patriarchy was something which I wanted to attack, and that is why Run Summer was formed, because I said I'm going to empower each woman to vocational skills. In fact, for criminal justice system also, I started these computer classes in Lucknow jail. I started it in Jaunpur jail, because I felt even criminals, when they come out, if you can vocationally enable them, why would they go back to crime again? You need to have an inclusive growth. So, and that is what criminal justice system is about, reformation. So through Run Summer, we try to do these vocational classes. And in fact, some of my girls in Jaunpur, where Devkali is a small village where I have one of the centers, they are all making masks. And they said, we have made a lot of masks for the lockdown period, and we are going to gift it to the collector so that they can be distributed. Then I had these, the Dora is a village in Barabanki where another center works, where I'm teaching these girls tailoring classes, because I feel if they can reinforce their income, because financial independence is very important. And in fact, in Jaunpur jail, we had started these classes of making jams and jellies. So the women prisoners were making jam jellies, which were being sold through the outlet in the jail. And it was some additional income for them. Because ultimately, for women empowerment, economic independence is priority. Till the time a woman doesn't earn, she doesn't get respect, because immediately the man would say, you live off me. But the moment a woman starts earning and can stand on her feet, she can always open her mouth, she can raise her voice. So through Ransomer, this is what I've been trying to do. In fact, I've started a legal aid center at Dharavi. I had a legal aid center. So a lot of women facing domestic violence have been approaching me. I just set up another legal aid center with the local corporator here in Andheri. So where weekends, on Saturday, Sundays, I go and I talk to these women. You know, they have a lot of RTI issues, their ration cards, and those so many issues they have. So we try to help them and we try to find out how to go about whatever their problems are. Because see, lawyers are expensive. So giving them free legal aid on weekends, that itself, you know, guiding them, making their RTIs, even if they have domestic violence, you know, getting them register a complaint in the police station, how to go about it. So these are the things which I do through Ransomer. And during lockdown, I started the People's Lawyer. In fact, I just set up a YouTube channel during lockdown because a lot of complaints were coming. Women were contacting that, look, we cannot go to the police station in lockdown and we are being beaten up at home, because the police also is saying we are busy in bandobast and lockdown, so we can't evacuate you. So then I thought, how do we go about it? So then I started the People's Lawyer, and through that, I'm trying to take up these issues. What are the laws, you know? So trying to make them aware. So the YouTube channel, that is Abha Singh Advocate. So people are putting their issues. In fact, then I realized that, okay, since because I'm a doer, I can't sit idle. So then I started weekend classes for children who are taking the prelims, because now there's no coaching. And since I cleared the civil services, and my daughter's also there with me, so we both, mother and daughter, we are just trying to guide students how to work from home.
So that's a
Then
lot of work, Abha, you've been doing, and I also see you, voicing your opinion a lot on the social media, talking about it, and also talking about, be it some very high-profile cases, and be it Salman Khan hit and run case, be it Salman Khan's neighbors who were not letting, who were not letting,
yes.
they
Yeah,
couldn't
you
get
know,
into their
Salman
own
Khan
property.
hit and run case
All
was
of these.
primarily done because it was lying in the police station for 10 years. So then you realize that you may talk of laws and talk of justice, but if the police doesn't work on that case, people can go scot-free. So of course, that's a different thing, that from High Court he went scot-free because the manner in which the evidences and all were botched up, it didn't stand in court. But in Sessions Court, he got 5 years imprisonment. And the biggest takeaway from the Salman Khan hit and run case was that cases of drunken driving went down. This case created so much social awareness in the media that even now people say, the traffic police came out with figures saying that now people, if they are drinking, they're taking a driver, or the mother is asking the son that if you're going out, take a cab, don't take the car, don't drive. So the biggest takeaway from this was this: drunken driving was that cases came down. And also this, I've got these NRI clients. These people, they came to me, Mr. and Mrs. Kakkar, and they had put their hard-earned money in a farmhouse next to Salman Khan's in Panvel. So they thought, as they grow old, they were based in US, they'll come back and they'll settle. But when they came back here, they realized that it was Salman's family only who had sold this land to them. Salim Khan and all had helped them get it. But Salman, whereas he has electricity, these Kakkar couple, they don't, the forest department has not even given them electric connection. And their passage has been blocked because now Salman feels that that area is all his, and why should someone come and be his neighbor? So we went to the forest department, but see the irony. They went to complain to the forest minister, and the forest minister called Salman Khan to his house over lunch. So, that is the star value that, in fact, we did a press conference and it would be there in the social media. You all must see that these couple, I mean, wherever they go to complain, Salman, just a selfie with Salman and the issues are sorted out.
Yeah.
So,
On that, even the WHO and China cannot go scot-free. Written in a
yeah, that was something which I took up. That was the first thing which I took up. Yeah.
Yeah.
In lockdown, when we started talking of the migrant crisis, the labor law which came in UP, I made a video on that. I said, look, how can you now, at a time when migrants are suffering, they are going to the villages, you cannot just change the labor laws. You've got to take care of them. And then everybody said, and the way we saw that, had WHO acted at the right time, had it imposed, declared pandemic not in December, January, these infections would have not traveled. And
Yeah.
China, it somehow influenced WHO. And that time I wrote a letter to Secretary General UN also. I said China needs to be boycotted. China needs to pay compensation. If migrants in India are suffering, then I hold China accountable for this. But then I got a letter from Secretary General saying that, look, this needs to come from India. This issue
Right.
you have to raise through the country. And then I wrote a letter to Prime Minister Narendra Modi also. And I sent him a reminder that, look, we must take up this issue with Secretary General. However, since India, for whatever reasons, because the country has not yet taken it up with the Secretary General, so then in an independent capacity, which I am very much in my allowed, and there is a procedure, I moved the Human Rights Commission in Geneva. And I said, migrants who've suffered, the young children who've died on the roads, migrants who've died on the roads reaching their villages, they should get compensation from China. Because had China not covered up, and WHO was a party to it, so let China pay compensation to India for the violation of human rights, and WHO should also be ticked off, because how can you play into the hands of a country like
But
this?
Abha, I'd like to say that, shouldn't the government had planned it a little better, that, you're doing lockdown and you're migrant and how your daily wages and things like that.
Of
Even our
course.
government did a very big blunder on,
Of course. See, at a time when there
and,
were only 500 infections in the country.
Abha, we are going to take this conversation further. I'd like to invite Jerry into it because this is a very important discussion and this is a very
Yeah.
important part of the discussion. I'd like to invite Jerry because we are also running a little short on time and there's a lot to talk to you. So I'd like to invite Jerry over. Yeah, yeah. So I think the government should have also taken a note of the fact that they're going to do something and they're going to implement lockdown. What's going to happen to the major percentage of the country, which is the poor?
Very true. When at a time in March, when you have only 500 infections of COVID-19, you just imposed a lockdown. You could have given a week to people that this is going to happen. You want to reach your homes, you can go. And I think the government did not anticipate that so many migrants will come on the roads. And the biggest folly was that when Home Ministry came out with the order which it came out, it said landlords will not ask rent from their tenants for 1 month. And today we know it's more than 4 months. You should have very clearly said that migrants will not have to pay rent. Let them be wherever they are. These issues will be taken care of. And you
I
have
think,
something called the Interstate Migrant Act. So,
yeah.
After 1 month, they didn't know. In fact, the landlords themselves put them on the roads. So had government said very clearly that migrants, wherever they are, you stay there. We will provide you ration. You will not pay rent. I mean, if you talk of the midday meal, which was the issue I raised at that time, 1100 crores per month is the midday meal budget. You schools were closed. You could have used that money to give it to the migrants. So I think the government, the bureaucrats botched up. They did not plan out properly. And that is why all this happened. And today we've gone into millions of infections. So, and so much of suffering. Now these migrants want to come back to Mumbai because they don't have jobs in their cities. Then even I would say the infrastructure is suffering because now you require the laborers to set back the economy on the right track. So they should have not gone in the first place. Nowhere in the world you had people just leaving cities and going. And that is why now UP is having more infection. Dharvi now is under control, but all the residents of Dharvi who went to Tamil Nadu, they've carried the infection there. So I think they did not plan it out. And that is why there was so much problem. And now they all want to come back. So why did they go for 3 months? My question is.
So I think the government should be asked also to pay.
Okay, I think I'll step into that because
Yeah.
we're just going to and fro with the government paying or China paying. My first question is, why should China pay? How is China responsible for the migrant labor exodus?
No, so I'll tell you why. China had this infection. It had got to know about it in October, November. And you must follow this on. I have put every letter, every details on the People's Lawyer in my YouTube channel, Abha Singh Advocate, that where these things had come out and the doctors had put it out in their WhatsApp groups that SARS type virus is on the evil, and this is the issue. But China, because of the Chinese New Year and Christmas, it did not let WHO declare a pandemic and did not let them warn. In fact, why Italy it started first? Because
But what control does China have over WHO?
see, what control? These are the biggest funders. I mean,
No. China is
how is it? How is it? Then
biggest
did
funder, not the biggest donor.
you see the
So
rules?
China
Very
alone,
clear.
as one state called China, I refuse to agree because I've done a lot of work with the
No.
UN. They have no control as one
No,
state called China.
no, but UN, WHO should have a committee to investigate. The medical committee should have gone
But when the
yes.
WHO has been sold out to a BMGF,
Then you're saying WHO is sold out. So that
why aren't we holding the larger powers like BMGF and the United
See, for
States?
SARS, if you see the background, for SARS, finally China had to apologize.
No, Abha ma'am,
Had to give a public apology.
what I'm
And
saying
China, by
is
keeping
a
quiet,
pandemic,
all these viruses have always started from China. You see
no.
SARS.
I think that would be unfair because a pandemic
But
can start from anywhere, and
you see SARS,
somehow we like doing this China bashing and saying that
no, it's not China bashing.
Even
but
people created this thing that they actually engineered the virus and things like that. I think that,
no,
that
not
those
engineered,
are,
but they kept quiet. See, I mean,
surely
why it started-
because they were trying to
Wuhan has a
contain
direct flight with Italy.
they were trying to contain the illnesses within that place called Wuhan. But what I'm trying to say is, okay, we will leave that because that's a larger debate, and that will probably take a whole day.
And I would like people to watch that video in which I have.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that as far as the
right
migrant exodus is concerned, if I wanted to make a more effective case out of it, I would go after the state. That is one. Second, I would go after the society, which is businesses and households which treated their labor so poorly. You take away their livelihood because of a lockdown. You leave them on the road. So what do you expect them to do if not flee the place?
No, but see, again, I will come. There is something called the Interstate Migrant Workers Act, which says that the contractor who's got these laborers, he has to pay their salary. In fact, the act even provides for their transit salary and also their fare. But nothing is implemented. And if the contractor is not paying, then it is the employer who has to pay.
But that's exactly what I'm saying.
Definitely, that's what I said.
We are a country where we have many acts and many laws. For example, bonded labor was abolished decades ago. Bonded labor still exists in the country. What do you think the brick workers are all about? Right now, who's using the bricks? The bricks are being used by big real estate companies. And like I always say, if you take the migrant labor out of the economy, the entire economy will collapse. But you had so-called leaders like Narayan Murthy saying that we should make workers work for more hours now. वैसे ही निचोड़ दिया है नींबू को और क्या निचोड़ दिया?
That is why when the UP government came out with that ordinance where they said that they will be working for 12 hours, and immediately a PIL was filed. In fact, that was the first video which I made. I said, how can you tamper with
the UP government is run by a fool called Yogi who doesn't have any brains of his own. He got the insight from an idiot called Narayan Murthy.
The people who will
Narayan Murthy is the first person who said this. Narayan Murthy, with all his wisdom, with his glasses,
but it is people who vote such people. It is a democracy.
It is not only
we need to inspire these people to use their vote judiciously.
No, see, I remember what a relative of mine who's a politician in Punjab once said to me. He said, Jerry, people like you and Abha Singh and Itu Chopra don't matter to us as vote banks. तुम्हारी गिनती भी नहीं है.
Very true, very true. But I said, no, we are going to
गिनती माइग्रेंट लेबर की है, पर उन्हें तो मैनिपुलेट किया जाता है क्योंकि उनके पास पैसे नहीं है.
And this is what they've done. वो 2-2 हजार रुपए महीने में उनको घर में दे रहे हैं, राशन दे रहे हैं, वो भूल जाएंगे. By the time elections come, they will forget.
But my bigger problem is that when a so-called leader who projects himself as the most erudite leader of India, Narayan Murthy, right? Ratan Tata for a change is making some right noises that how can you downsize people or lay off people in a dastardly situation like this. But Narayan Murthy was the first person who said that workers should work for more hours. For years you have been doing rate arbitrage here as Infosys. Infosys क्या है? Labor management ही है ना? You taken
See,
the jobs.
now after this, governments are saying that we will maintain a register who are the migrants who are going from our states. I am surprised that they don't even have a data bank of their people who are going out, who are working. So definitely labor has been a very low priority
No,
because it is the people who are responsible.
again, I come back to why do we need an act and a law for this? What about millions of households who are doing charity on Give India
That's what I
and
said. We lack
and
integrity.
and
We lack integrity as
giving
a
used
nation.
clothes to Gunj, which are then sold in the second-hand market for profit, right? उनके लिए ये charity है. पर आपने जो आपका कार क्लीनर है जिनको आप 600 रुपये भरते हो महीने के, उनको निकाल दिया काम से लॉकडाउन की वजह से. बड़े
See, that's
दानवीर
what
हो
I
आप हैं.
said. Why say people lack integrity in this country?
It's not just this country, Abha ma'am. This
World
happened in
over. Yeah,
this
I would say
happened in
world
New
over.
York. This happened in
Yeah,
Washington.
this is happening everywhere.
Right?
See,
There
but
was
then again, you have to see people who are removing, they have 30% of even the upper strata has lost their jobs. How mindlessly you did a lockdown.
मैम उतने तो गए गुजरे नहीं है ना कि 500 रुपया नहीं भर सकते हैं.
No, of course. See, nobody can justify that. But my purpose is this.
कि चलो
Why
मान
did we
लिया
come
कि
to this level?
आपकी भी नौकरी गई है, नौकरी खतरे में है.
Oh, 3 months, 3 months if we are also sitting, exactly.
इतने गए. I'm also a daily wage laborer, but that doesn't mean I fire my house help, no? Some
No, but
integrity has to be.
at least I would say in the people I have talked to and all, they have been paying their domestic workers maybe 30% less. They have reduced 20%, but a lot of people have paid. In fact, in this lockdown, the best work has come from the civil society. And this is when the PIL was filed in Supreme Court. Even the court said that the civil society has worked better than the government in lockdown, providing food, providing support. Civil society,
by far the few and the housing societies got their act together because they wanted the janitors and the housekeepers to live in the building. नहीं तो building गंदा हो जाता था, है ना? Security guard तो चाहिए ना, थोड़ा security लगने चाहिए तो उनको.
No, but I think even food and all, like at least in Mumbai, you had these
वो
NGOs
थोड़ा
providing
need
round
be
the clock.
thank God it was need based, नहीं तो उनको भी ignore करते. Anyway, let's come back to Salman bhai, है ना? We spoke about Salman Khan's hit and run, and like I always say, maybe I would have forgiven that hit and run because piya hua tha, nashe mein doodh tha, hai na? But how is it that nobody has filed a case against him and his lawyers for what they did to Ravindra Patil?
Exactly.
Now here is a man who's got solid integrity. उसको तो आपने emotionally, mentally harassment करके खत्म कर दिया.
Yeah, he died, in a hospital. He was hospitalized.
He died in KM hospital, and you should see his picture when he was Salman's bodyguard, and then see his picture when he died. They had reduced him to a corpse.
There are so many questions to be answered in the Salman Khan hit and run case. I mean, at the later stage, as an afterthought, Salman says कि मैं गाड़ी नहीं चला रहा था, अपने एक ड्राइवर को पैसा देके अशोक सिंह से मैं चला रहा था.
Ravindra Patil was the only witness who didn't turn hostile. That's why they messed him up. उसको तो मतलब नौकरी से निकलवा दिया.
In fact, there was another Kamal Khan whom the police let him go out of India.
Kamal Khan is Salman Khan's cousin and is a wuss. He's a complete coward. But what I'm trying to say is that why has nobody filed a case about how they completely wrecked a fierce person with solid integrity? Because I think he had solid integrity, and because he would not cow down,
to have the courage to depose. In fact, such was the pressure on him that he had to be arrested with his statement.
Yeah, because they threw him out of his job. They messed up his family life.
He lost his job. He became
पूरा एक षड्यंत्र कर दिया इनके लॉयर ने. और ये बंदा being human t-shirt के पहन के घूमता है.
Yes, and people talk of being human. Exactly.
Now, for me, as far as I'm concerned, like I said, I would forgive the accident, but this is a premeditated murder.
Of course,
you murder a man systematically over years.
Bombay High Court, I mean, it just exonerated him. Hats off to the Sessions Court judge who realized these things and gave him 5 years imprisonment. But at least I will say my biggest contribution has been that after the legal advocacy we did, Maharashtra government has gone against the Bombay High Court order to Supreme Court.
No, Abhaji, this is
कहानी
not
अभी बाकी है.
this is
कहानी
not an
अभी बाकी
insight.
है.
This is a request. I think, and I'm happy to even invest in this. I think
Exactly.
we should.
When now the
I
matter
think
when
we
it
should
comes
get
to Supreme
justice for
Court, I would
Ravindra
like you
Patil.
to come on board.
He's one man, but we should get justice for him because he's a solid story. He's a real hero for all the police constables, the police inspectors, and the commissioners
Yeah, and
of
in
police
fact,
to follow.
he should be honored. He should be honored posthumously that look,
Yes.
he was so true to his cause.
So we will
But
surely
nowhere
give
would
him
you
the
see that
Karma Veer
there is a
this year,
medal in his name.
and like I
But
said,
you know, I would like, Jerry, that when this case, the case will come in Supreme Court, Maharashtra government went in appeal against the Bombay High Court order which exonerated Salman Khan. So when it comes in Supreme Court, we must you can also come on board that these are the issues which
absolutely.
we
I'm glad. I mean, I think this boy, this young man deserves respect and he deserves the honor. And like I said, I'm even happy to invest in this case. I'll come to my next insight, which I wanted to share with you, which is I remember something happened. And I remember I had sent you and Mr. YP Singh also a message. And what had happened was that in 2012, after the India Against Corruption hullabaloo, Arvind Kejriwal showed his true colors. जो आस्तीन का सांप था वो मतलब आस्तीन से निकल गया और दिखा दिया कि अब सांप हूं, है ना? And you and YP Singh had done the entire uncovering of the irrigation scam report. And that report was very dear to me because the man who had first started investigating it, who was killed in broad daylight in 2009 on the streets of Pune, was a man called Satish Shetty.
Yeah. Satish.
Fellow activist and dear friend. And I remember, and I'll say it on record, that we all know who has a hand in his murder. It is Sharad Pawar, Ajit Pawar, and their cronies, right? And I remember...
Lavasa is itself, Lavasa is,
Yeah, with Ajit Gulabchand. Tavleen Singh's paramour and partner in crime, right? सब जानते हैं हम, है ना? अब ये क्या हुआ यहाँ पे कि पूरा रिपोर्ट आपने दे दिया टू अरविंद केजरीवाल इन गुड फेथ. अरविंद केजरीवाल आए, प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस बुलाया कि आई एम गोइंग टू टेबल द रिपोर्ट अगेंस्ट शरद पवार, अजित पवार अबाउट द इरिगेशन स्कैम इन 1 week, है ना? और तभी मुझे मतलब that is when I remember I sent you a message that this guy is going to completely vitiate the report. और एक हफ्ते बाद जब दूसरा प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस बुलाया तो he tabled something which was all...
Exactly. In fact, YP Singh was the first person who did that press conference and said, why is he not
but by the time YP called for the entire press conference, the entire report had lost its credibility. How do you feel with this betrayal of trust which happened?
See, why forget that? Even in fact, if you see, Kejriwal was talking so much against Mukesh Ambani and he said Reliance, but now he doesn't speak a word.
Because he used all that time to leverage some funding and some favors, curry some favors for himself.
Yes. See, he became from an activist, he became a politician. Right. From an activist, he became a politician and he learned that art. Anna Hazare, he used him as a face. And Mayank Gandhi and all who supported him, who got him, Mayank Gandhi, every person, Prashant Bhushan.
Not that Mayank Gandhi and Prashant Bhushan are any better. Prashant Bhushan has been running an extortion racket for many years now.
See, and I would not comment on because
Prashant Bhushan files a PIR and baap piche se matlab deal karta hai. He's a deal maker.
Because I hold Prashant Bhushan, I feel he has the courage to at least stand up to
but see, why did that entire India Against Corruption movement get completely discredited? Because none of them had the teeth. All bark, no bite, right? You see your Kiran. I remember I told Anna Hazare at that time because, we were doing the right every wrong movement. He wanted to tie up with us. I said, I believe in you still. Because aap abhi tak matlab uncorrupted ho.
See, that is the reason we could never become politicians because we can't.
But I said team Anna में कोई विश्वास नहीं है क्योंकि अरविंद को मैं तब से ट्राई मार रहा था कि सीट मिले NSC में, है ना? So we
नहीं,
know.
Arvind का तो Arvind from activism was the first one to switch to politics, and now I mean he finished the movement also. I would say activists जो थे Arvind Kejriwal ने खत्म कर दिए. The activist
That
movement
was my
was killed
biggest
by
grouse,
Arvind
that you
Kejriwal.
have created a bad name for all activists, because now nobody
Exactly.
is
I
trusted.
said he killed the activist movement.
Right.
Arvind Kejriwal is responsible for the demise of activism in India.
But how did you and YP feel at that time when this entire fiasco happened, when the solid report, which could have brought down Sharad Pawar, was completely compromised for petty politics?
See, we held that press conference. IP spoke out those issues, and we tried to make an issue out of it. That how can this happen? But then by the time Delhi had been totally fooled by Arvind Kejriwal, and he had come to
Right.
power, and you know
Right.
how it was. I mean, Arvind knew the psyche, and Anna Hazare, he got Anna Hazare, and you know, I mean, and I would say the media also, you know, because now news is not what news is; it is what media shows you.
Right.
So, you
Right.
know, the narrative
It's all.
now is
It's
run by the media. Narrative is run by corporate houses. Narrative
absolutely.
is run by certain politicians in this country. So that
Absolutely.
is why an educated and opinion and a well, you know, people need to know what the truth is, not what is shown to them.
And somewhere I won't just blame the current regime, because this has been going on in the regime of the Congress also. This has
Exactly.
been
I mean, of
happening
course.
with AAP also. And I think it's time probably to change our country's motto. Our country's motto is Satyamev Jayate. है ना? And of course you have Amir Khan, who says that Coca-Cola is safe for children, as the host for Satyamev Jayate. मतलब पूरे 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 कंट्री का फैब्रिक जो है खराब हो गया है.
Even I feel country ka fabric, that integrity.
Yeah.
What are you leaving for your children? How can you destroy the environment? How can you destroy the country? This is what you want to leave for your children. So that integrity part is very important.
So we should change our slogan and our motto to "Jhoot bole kawa kaate."
Jhoot bole kawa kaate. Very, very.
That's what we have become. And I just want a final insight for you. I mean, there's in the past 1.5 months, or maybe 1 month and 5 days or 10 days, there's been a lot of noise, है ना? Sympathy wave हो गया, nepotism की चर्चा शुरू हो गई, सुशांत सिंह के suicide को murder बना दिया, है ना?
Exactly, you've hit the nail on the head. You know, Jerry, this is what, मतलब suicide को अगर एक TV channel कहेगा suicide को murder, I pity that TV channel, I pity that anchor, I pity these members of parliament. I mean,
and with all due respect,
कैसा मूर्ख बना रहे हो?
With all due respect, और मैं सीधा बोल दूंगा क्योंकि I have fondness for Sushant Singh Rajput, and I think it was a life which was snuffed out too early.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. I mean, that boy was so genuine. Nepotism was something we had to talk about.
And if you go into his background, surely he is a clinical depression case, and he has committed suicide. Now, in the past 1 week, you must have seen everybody is talking about his movie. And I believe it broke all records, and it kind of smashed the Hotstar app. And I couldn't watch 10 minutes of it.
You know, my question is कि जब वो जिंदा था तब सुब्रमण्यम स्वामी कहाँ थे? तब ये लोग जो अभी
नहीं, पर तब सब लोग कहाँ थे? Because my basic
डेथ को पॉलिटिकल माइलेज बना के लोग क्या करना चाह रहे हैं?
देखो आप
कैरेक्टर ऑफ दिस कंट्री कि किसी की डेथ को भी ये जो है ना कफन बेच के भी पैसे कमा लेंगे.
You saw the Shekhar Suman, he went to Bihar and he made a mockery out of it.
Because Bihar elections are there.
Right.
Bihar elections को catch up करने के लिए they are doing it. Otherwise, अगर उसकी movies ली गई, उस वक्त why did you not speak? Why did you keep quiet at that time? And
so
abetment, okay, I am ready to say, चलो अगर if it is abetment to suicide, but आप बिना report आए, आप उसको murder कर देंगे, आप उसको TV channels are running campaigns, members of parliament are running campaigns. Not one person is talking about farmer suicides, what is happening to their widows. Crucial issues we are not talking of. But
absolutely.
Out Sushant Singh's death, people are just talking about it. Media may get TRP, politicians may get votes. That is what it is about.
Right. मतलब इतना मतलब वो fervor और passion आ गया लोगों में कि nepotism के बारे में बात करे. And you talk to anybody also that what is the nepotism? कौन से फील्ड में nepotism नहीं है?
You have a Chief Justice of India, उनका बेटा फिर Supreme Court में जज बैठा है, उसका बेटा भी बनेगा. There'll be 3 generations of Chief
हर
Justice.
कोई अपने बच्चे को स्कूल में एडमिशन कराने के लिए नेपोटिज्म करता है. So what do you have to say about this hypocrisy of society?
I'm fed up. I'm fed up with this hypocrisy. I am actually fed up, and I don't switch on channels now. I get so angry कि सच्चाई तो दिखाना नहीं है, एक नैरेटिव बना के एंकर जो नैरेटिव बना देगा उसी पे आपको. और मुझे लगता है कि लोग इतने बेवकूफ हैं. Indians, are they taking us for some fools that we can't see what is the truth, or we want to look foolish? So nepotism, of course, and Sushant Singh Rajput, I feel bad for him कि अगर वो बच्चा उसको बाइकआउट किया जा रहा था तब तुम कहाँ थे जब अगर करण जौहर मजाक उड़ा रहा था. बट स्टिल मजाक उड़ाना is not an offense. It is not an offense under the IPC. Humor is something, you have to show abetment to suicide also. Even professional rivalry cannot be called a reason for abetment to suicide. It has to be more direct. And you have lawyers from Delhi trying to hold press conferences, lawyers from Delhi trying to say कि नहीं ये murder है और इसमें ऐसे हुआ था. You know what, you're trying to fool the public, or you're trying to play with the emotions of the fan just to get some million followers.
ये तो ऐसा हुआ कल कि some public speaking competition है and I take part in it and I come third and somebody comes first and I commit suicide. So will that be abetment to suicide?
Not at all. Exactly. Now it's like this only. And they need to know the abetment. There has to be a direct relation. I said if Kangana Ranaut is saying 32 people have murdered Sushant. I mean, if it is Karan Johar, if it is Yash Raj, Aditya Chopra, then it is this one. I mean, Kangana Ranaut, whatever she's talking is gospel of truth or what?
No, forget Kangana Ranaut. You have so many people like Anurag Kashyap, है ना? अनुराग कश्यप कहता है कि एक जमाने में कहता था कि करण जौहर जो है शादी वाला वीडियोग्राफर है. आज के तारीख में मतलब he is treats him like God. तो what I mean, you can see the hypocrisy. मतलब उबर के बाहर आ रही है.
But what I feel is कि ये लॉकडाउन में सबकी एनर्जीज भी किसी पे कोई काम नहीं है. आधे लोग घर बैठे हैं तो वो ट्विटर ट्रेंडी चला दो, देश कुछ भी चेंज कर दो. I feel let them do. Let's get real. Bollywood, fine, Bollywood is there, but Bollywood cannot drive the country. यार वो अपना वो एंटरटेनमेंट कर रहा है, वही करने दो. I think हमारे पास कोई substantial issues नहीं है. इकोनॉमी में क्या करना है, और we are trying to misguide the people, take their mind away from relevant issues. Something we don't want people to see. अगर आपका डिफेक्शन हो रहा है, आप एमएलए को खरीद रहे हो, बेच रहे हो, आप गवर्नमेंट्स गिरा रहे हो, we are not debating that. Why are we not debating the role of governor? Why are we not debating the role of speaker? I mean, these are critical issues. You are hijacking the
right. And I think that's the big insight, that we are happy focusing on the trivial matters rather than paying attention to the big issues. And I think society surely needs to wake up on that. हमारा वो page 3 में हम लोग अटके हुए हैं, है ना? कि even if there's
real, actually we need to take up real issues which are going to get your bread and butter on your table, which are going to educate your children, your moral fabric, your mental health. Now you're not talking of mental health because you have taken the narrative that he was murdered.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even I'm saying, let the report come. Without the report coming, how are you saying? And you think CBI can do something very substantial? The same IPS officer from the police goes to CBI.
अब तो नया ट्रेंड ये हो गया है that they are sending out movie posters that इनकी मूवी हिट बना दो, नहीं तो ये बंदा भी सुसाइड कर लेगा. No, this actually has come out now. There's a movie releasing on.
I feel exactly, like people need to question things. You need to not take it on face value. Yeah, how can somebody? I mean, I can just say they're trying to make a fool out of your emotions. That's all.
Absolutely. Because the fact of the matter is, every industry has nepotism. It's a human thing. It has nothing to do with any industry.
And why not? Why not? Yeah. My both children, we were not lawyers by profession, we were in the civil services, but we came out and now both my children are with me. So why will I call it nepotism? I would say I require more people, and I know these kids are there who can work with me at my beck and call. So I have got them as lawyers. Finished.
हमारा तो ट्रेडिशन है कपूर एंड सन्स है ना
Exactly.
खान एंड ब्रदर्स
You know,
यश
doctors children are
यश चोपड़ा
doctors.
एंड सन्स डॉटर्स को तो भूल गए हम उसको
हाँ.
कहीं कहीं कश्मीर या नेपाल में दिखता है बाकी नहीं दिखता
So
so anyway
I'm saying, you know, but abetment to suicide also. अब तो ये मतलब बिल्कुल सही बोला कि मैंने आपको हरा दिया तो आपने सुसाइड कर लिया तो फिर मैंने मेरे पे केस हो गया. I mean, पुलिस को भी आपने, you are making the country a police state. If I am going to be called in a police station to record a statement because I argued with you, so that means कि I mean, what is constitution is in name? Where are my fundamental rights?
So the bigger issue that the country should have been talking about is how do we build up mental resilience of our children and the youth, that the world is competitive and you can't win all the time, because unfortunately our entire upbringing is to make people think that you will always be successful in your life.
No,
we have
Jerry, that is
never
what I was
taught
telling
them how to
someone.
cope
I
with
said
failure.
My husband was in the CBI and he did cases on some of the top corporate houses. They harassed him so much that he left. He did not take his pension. In 2003, he walked out of the IPS. But he did not end his life, or he was a fighter. He said, look, I'm going to fight it out.
True,
I mean, you
true.
have to make them that. I would say make your people strong. I mean, we
Absolutely.
need to inculcate those values that
Absolutely.
adversities cannot overtake us.
Absolutely.
We have to conquer adversities. And that is what Abha Singh and YP Singh is all about. I mean, we fight to take things head on.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean,
I think that is a good learning for people, because, you know, I mean, I was just sharing in my school group yesterday and I said, with all due respect to all his fans, because I'm not a fan of any movie star or anybody for that matter, कोई अच्छा लगता है पिक्चर देख लेते हैं वो. So everybody started buzzing about how this new movie, and I said probably John Green will sue them. Yeah, how did you make a movie so badly?
exactly. The book is awesome.
It is a copy of The Fault in Our Stars. And if you've seen the English movie, it's so well made. I saw 10 minutes.
But again, my issue is कि जब उसकी 6 movies ले जा रही थी, तब कंगना रनौत क्यों नहीं बोली, तब डॉक्टर सुब्रमण्यम स्वामी क्यों नहीं आए, तब पप्पू यादव बिहार से क्यों नहीं आए. अब जब वो एक ट्रेंडिंग हो गया, आपका वोट बैंक हो गया बिहार इलेक्शंस, आपका ट्विटर फॉलोइंग आपके 1 मिलियन फॉलोअर्स हो जाएंगे, तो इसलिए आप उस मैटर को ले रहे हैं. When he was struggling, where were you? मैं कहती हूँ एक आदमी, that is what I talk about justice. That is what I talk about कि जब अन्याय हो रहा है तब खड़े हो ना.
So everyone, mostly the people who are out there, they love to grab any opportunity that comes there. So they're all opportunists. I remember.
It is all, you know, these PR companies. Now all this is PR driven. It is a PR driven exercise.
In the past 1 month, I think I posted at least 4 times कि बंदा मर गया, give him some dignity in his death at least. खत्म कर दो ये बात.
Give him dignity. You know, fictitious videos have come up कि वो ऐसे यहाँ पे हाथ था, ये ऐसा था. I mean, you know, such fictitious videos have come and people have generated because they know they will get more likes and they will get, you know, followers. I mean, if country is all about getting Twitter followers and Twitter likes, lawyers are doing that. You know, I'm surprised that I told that lawyer on the channel, I said, look, you are a friend of the court, you are an officer of the court, at least as an officer of the court, please don't try to give it a different narrative. You be loyal to the court.
Very true. And I think with that, I think we'll conclude the session. Brilliant conversation with you. I think we need to preserve our dignity as people, as a country, and not stoop to such levels, because this reflects very poorly on the entire country. It doesn't help that हमारे नेता लोग ऐसे हैं.
Exactly.
सब fraud भरे हुए हैं कि आजकल जितने भी बच्चे हैं वो भी झूठ बोल रहे हैं कि मैंने ड्रोन क्रिएट कर दिया, and the German company is suing them. So I think we have completely regressed as a country, as a society, as a community, and I think we need to reclaim and preserve that integrity and dignity.
Exactly. You know, Jerry and Neetu, when right to life was discussed by Supreme Court in a couple of cases, Article 21, it said right to life also means right to live with dignity. So that dignity is also your fundamental right, and with dignity, I will say integrity. If we have dignity and integrity, I mean, we could really solve a
the,
lot of
the,
issues.
these are all root core values, and those unfortunately have gone missing along with the truth. And finally, just one small thing that I wanted to touch upon. I remember you spoke about domestic violence, and I always say this, and this is for the viewers more, कि domestic violence यही नहीं है कि मतलब physical violence होना चाहिए. There is a mental violence where people could abuse you, they could, you know, torture you with words, like was done with Ravindra Patil. That happens in a lot of homes also, and it's not just towards the female, it's also towards the male,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But there is a far bigger violence which I see in our society, especially as a patriarchal society, and you know, most women are ignorant about this, and most people don't even realize this. And I realized it when I was coaching one such person who was an actor, and after her divorce she was completely in a depressed state. And you know, this is exactly what the men do. You don't need to work anymore, I will take care of you, right?
Very
and
true.
and you don't even realize, but this is the most cunning
Correct.
domestic
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
violence,
yeah.
you know.
You know, I always say that you say behind every successful man there's a woman. I would say behind every successful woman
Yeah,
there's a man, because you really need to be the metro man. You really need to be a true man to enjoy your wife's success, to bask in her economic freedom, because it really takes you to have a very open mind and a very large heart,
yeah.
because
Because
patriarchy
because
will
the
keep
moment you say you
conquering
don't
you.
have to work, and you know, I will take care because you enjoy a good life, what you've done is you actually taken away her financial freedom. You made her financially dependent, and that's the reason a lot of people stay in their marriages, right? Even though they want to
Exactly.
walk out. Now,
Exactly.
I think there is a huge need, and we announced this last year at the Rex Karmavir Awards, that there is a huge need to form, like how you have the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act. There's a huge need to form, because वो घंटी बजाओ बेल बजाओ करने से डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस नहीं रुका है. वो बेल बजाओ कैंपेन भी is like मोदी's घंटी बजाओ ताली बजाओ campaign, है ना. I think what we need to do is we need to create a process where every RWA, every housing society adopts what I call as the Ahimsa Army Anonymous cells. Create Ahimsa Army Anonymous cells. So in case there is a domestic violence case which is happening in the building, they know whom to go to anonymously. Because a lot of women,
Exactly. You know, in
even
fact,
in
I
urban
had
societies, don't come out because they are scared कि अगर husband को पता चल गया तो और मार पड़ेगी, है ना.
You know, in fact, that is what I was telling, because Domestic Violence Act talks of protection officers. I thought, let me call up the Worley protection officer. One day I couldn't get his number. Second day, the number was switched off. So I
Right.
was doing a webinar with NCW the other day, Ms. Rekha Sharma, and I was telling her these issues. I said, women don't know whom to talk to. So at least I said, all my interns who are working with me, I said, look, wherever you are studying, let this be your project report. Any violence which takes place in and around your area, at least connect them to shelter homes, connect them to protection officers. And very true, you should have a army, anonymous army, as you said, of all the housing societies, that you can guide these women where to go.
No, and there's
That
a
is
reason we
important.
name, because ahimsa means non-violence, and you're
Yeah, yeah.
addressing violence, and there's army because it is an army which is spread all around, because it's all run by women and men, not just women, and it is an anonymous cell in the RWA. So
Yeah, exactly.
they
Women don't know whom to call up in
and
such
it's not
crisis.
just a rural problem, it's a huge urban problem,
It's a
it's a
huge,
South
no, no, it's a
Bombay
huge
problem,
urban.
it's a
I've got
South
two
Delhi
calls from
problem.
Delhi. I got two calls from Delhi where this woman said, my in-laws have thrown me out of the house
Hmm.
and I don't know where to go.
Right. So we are glad, we would love to work on this with you and involve you to kind of create the process, because you already have the
Yeah, yeah, of
legalese
course.
involved.
Anytime,
So
anytime.
and Itu's daughter is also a legal eagle.
Oh,
So
wonderful,
let's
wonderful.
form this
Yeah, yeah.
process.
So
And the
I
idea is
think
to
Itu's
create a
daughter and my
online,
daughter together,
yeah,
the young generation can also take
yeah.
it
Yeah.
forward, to
And the idea is
contribute.
to create a process and then get people to adopt the process and create the cell and register with us online. And
Exactly.
then whoever's running the cell will award them with the Karmavir certificate also.
Done, done, done.
So it's a process like that. So let's do this. I think it's the need of
Let's
the
do
hour,
it.
because domestic violence
Sure.
again and marital rapes have completely kind of ballooned in the
Yeah,
lockdown.
yeah, and it is quite tragic. Like 498A talks of mental cruelty, and you rightly said there's a law for mental cruelty. Like even if you call a woman ki tumhara rang kam hai, tumne beta nahi paida kiya, that is also an offense under 498A. I mean,
Right,
arrest ho sakti hai.
right.
But how many women have the courage to speak up?
Absolutely, and that's where the cells come in. That's where
Yeah,
the
yeah, of
entire
course, of course.
army and the process comes in. Great. So pleasure. Any closing statements from you, ma'am, and from Itu, ma'am, before we close?
I would say, Jerry and Itu, keep doing this brilliant work. Your InspireX is something which will inspire. I'm sure people who are hearing will know that don't suffer in silence. There are people who will come out and hold hands and will show you the way. And my message is to everyone, that don't tolerate injustice and try to see between the things. Like as you said, Kejriwal took everyone for a ride. So or so issues like this, please use your brains, use your mind. Let it not be just let not somebody just hijack your thinking process. So that is what I feel. Use your mind. You've got your mind, and raise your voice. Don't suffer in silence is something I want to say. And all of us, people say मैं क्या कर सकती हूँ, मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ, I say no. Everyone is important. Everyone can do good for the country, do good for the society. So see what good deed you are doing for the society and the country. Ask yourself.
Very nice. Excellent insight, ma'am. Thank you so much. Any
Thank you
closing
so
remarks
much.
from you, Itu?
Abha ji, you've been our Maharatna in 2019 conclave for the Rex Karamli Global Fellowship and Awards, and you stand so true to our slug lines and our mantras that I change to change and right every wrong. So stand up for your truth and speak against the wrong. That should be the mantra for everyone. And then dar ke aage jeete.
Thank you so much. I'm happy
Thank
that
you so
the
much for
people
being with
who've
us.
given me award are feeling that I'm worthy of that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am. Namaste and Jai
Namaste.
Hind. Have a good evening.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you. Lovely talking to you.
Bye.